Joining me right now is Texas Congressman. He is the chairman of the House Budget Committee, Jodey Arrington. Mr. Chairman, good to have you. Thanks very much for being here. Hillary just went through the obvious things about the speech. How would you assess the State of the Union last night?
Well, if the Democrat Party is upset with the president for using the word illegal, imagine if he would have used the wrong pronoun. He'd be really in trouble right now. But you know, that was his focus, was on the left, was lathering up the left. It was like a progressive pep rally. And if I closed my eyes in the chamber, I would have thought I was at the Chicago Democrat Convention and not at the State of the Union. This was an opportunity for him to be the president of all Americans and address the real needs and priorities of the American people. And by the way, it's not Vladimir Putin and the invasion of Ukraine. It's the invasion at our southern border by the drug cartels who this president has surrendered to. And it's not a climate crisis. It's a cost of living crisis. He missed, he swung, he missed. And if his intention was to just speak to his base, that was a bad strategy, because I think Trump will do enough to energize his base. He's bleeding out from the middle, and that'll be a disaster for him come November.
Well, I mean, that's what I've been saying this morning as well, Mr. Chairman, that this was more like a campaign speech than anything else. I did not, as a citizen of this great country, I did not walk away understanding what the true state of our union is, right? I mean, the true state of our union has to do with a wide open border, migrant crime on the rise, and inflation that is eating up our salaries. He didn't talk much about any of that.
No, he didn't. He, as a 50-year politician and master political illusionist, even he couldn't suspend the reality that the American people have suffered from under his lawlessness and incompetence. And it was the list of things that you mentioned, along with the geopolitical disarray and the destabilization in the world, because he's projected weakness. His weak and feckless foreign policies have made the world less safe, not just the streets of America or our border, but he decided to open up with Ukraine as if that was the biggest threat. He really doubled down on his tax and spend policies, as if the American people believe at this point that more government is going to be a solution to our problems. They want less government. They want less Washington. They want more freedom, and they want a new president, somebody that's going to listen to them and address their real needs.
Well, unfortunately, it was laced with politics, and he leaned into the things that divide us, polarize this country, and play with the populace. You know, raising taxes on the rich, divide and conquer, rich versus poor, white versus black. You know, homosexual versus heterosexual. I mean, it's all divide and conquer. He leaned into things like junk fees, guns, abortion. And yet he continues to not connect the dots of all of his spending to the 40-year high inflation that we're all feeling.
Yeah, again, this is a president that is obviously disconnected from everyone else in this country who is suffering under his self-inflicted disasters. They're not concerned about how many Dorito chips are in a bag. They're concerned about whether they have enough money to pay their mortgage that has doubled under him because of inflation and interest rate hikes. And again, he's doubling down. He's pouring gasoline on the fire of inflation. He's going to make the quality of life and standard of living even worse. So no one's buying it. Again, he was speaking to a very small block of people on the religious left. And those are the only people, I think, that walked away feeling better about our country. And it's a missed opportunity. Our country is divided, and we're suffering and struggling. And he was driving wedge issues and trotting out all the items on the progressive pet project list, instead of, again, being a statesman leader at a time when that's what this country needs.
So let's talk about what you all can do about it. He wants to raise taxes on corporations and the highest earners. The Budget Committee released its fiscal year 2025 budget resolution, promising to balance the federal budget in 10 years, reduce deficits by $14 trillion, and create a $44 billion budget surplus. The Committee for a Responsible Budget put out this statement on this. The budget includes many important objectives, such as improving our fiscal trajectory. At the same time, the goal of reaching a balanced budget in 10 years is completely unrealistic and counterproductive. Mr. Chairman, how do you respond?
Well, I think what's not just unproductive but irresponsible is to not have a budget at all. In the last 4 years under Democrat leadership, they didn't even bother to pass a budget out of committee. This is a fiscal framework to get this country back on good fiscal footing and to not just tamp down on inflation by reining in spending and reigniting economic growth, but to stave off a debt crisis that would undermine not only the economy, the greatest economy in the world here in America, but our national security and our children's future. So we're just providing leadership while this president is providing empty words at a State of the Union. We're taking action to revive the fiscal state of the Union. And the fiscal state of the Union is fragile, it's dire, and it's unsustainable. And we've got a blueprint and a path to put us on balance and beyond. And I think the American people, again, they want and need this kind of leadership, not more of the same. And by the way, this whole notion of taxes, those taxes will be passed on in even higher costs. So if you think inflation's bad now, wait until you tax our job creators. We lowered taxes when our American job creators had the highest business taxes in the free world, higher than communist China. That's where Biden wants to go. We want to unleash prosperity because we believe all boats rise on the tide of prosperity and opportunity in this country.
It's a really important point that you just made, and we know from history when President Trump signed into law the tax cuts, the economy shot up. And we actually saw more economic growth because of more people paying taxes, even though those taxes were cut. Congressman, thank you very much. We'll be watching.
Yes,
go ahead. Final word. Final word.
Well, final word is we didn't just see that. We saw the lowest poverty rates in recorded history, the lowest unemployment rates. We saw people have bigger paychecks and more opportunities. I mean, that is the free enterprise for you. That's the great American economy, and that's what the American people need.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Jodey Arrington this morning at the Capitol. We'll be right back.